There's a place in Mississippi where the earth itself remembers, where centuries of footsteps have carved grooves so deep that some travelers swear they can still hear the echoes of those who came before, even when the path ahead lies empty. Ask the old woman who runs the antique shop in Port Gibson, and she'll tell you some roads are just roads, but the Natchez Trace, that's something else entirely. She leaned over the counter, her voice dropping to a whisper. It's a scar across the land, she say, and scars don't heal easy. Then she'll sell you a map, circle the route, and warn you never to stop between mile markers 40 and 41 after dark. Most people laugh at that. Most people have never driven the trace alone at night. Today, the Natchez Trace Parkway stretches 444 miles from Natchez, Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee, a smooth ribbon of asphalt winding through forest and field. But beneath the modern pavement lies something ancient. For over 10,000 years, the path has carried life across the wilderness. First came the mastodons and giant ground sloths, pressing the first faint lines into the earth as they followed invisible trails towards salt licks near what would become Nashville. Then the bison deepened those lines, pounding the soil into permanence. The people followed: Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Natchez tribes, who knew every hollow, every bend, every place where the shadows gathered wrong. They had names for what lived along the path, names no European tongue could ever quite hold. When the French arrived in 1699, the trace was already old and haunted. The natives warned of stretches where the road existed in two places at once, where a traveler might walk for days and arrive before he'd even left, or never arrive at all. Would you like me to continue the rewrite in this tone and format, moody, narrative, prose, polished but cinematic? Or would you prefer something shorter, more like a documentary narration or a legend retelling? By the late 1700s, the trace had become the most important trade route of the American frontier. Flatboatmen from Ohio and Kentucky, called Kentucks, would drift their cargo south to Natchez or New Orleans, sell everything, even the boats themselves, and then face the long walk home. 500 miles through wilderness and swamp, through Chickasaw territory, through places where noon looked like midnight. The smart ones moved fast, slept off the trail, trusted no one. The unlucky ones, their bones joined the thousands already claimed by the road. They called it the Devil's Backbone, the Road of 1,000 Sorrows. But most people simply called it the place where men disappeared. Not in great numbers all at once, just a steady trickle. A merchant would set out with 3 companions. 2 would arrive in Nashville. The third, simply gone. No one could remember when or where he vanished. Then came the outlaws. The trace, lonely and lawless, drew them like flies to carrion. Samuel Mason was the first of the famous Wanza Revolutionary War veteran turned land pirate. He posed as a Methodist preacher, black coat, Bible and all. He'd travel with honest men, win their trust, and then, at some lonely bend in the road, his gang would emerge from the trees. The killing was quick, the robbery thorough. The bodies disappeared into sinkholes that seemed to have no bottom. Mason's trademark was simple. He carved his initials, SM, into nearby trees cut deep, cut to last. Some of those marks are still there if you know where to look. Rangers call it preservation. Locals call it a warning. After Mason came the Harp brothers, or whatever they were, Big Harp and Little Harp. Calling them brothers was generous. Monsters is closer to the truth. They killed for money, yes, but mostly for the joy of it. One survivor, a minister named John Stiegel, said he watched Little Harp kill a baby just because its crying annoyed him. The mother went mad on the spot. They say her spirit still walks the trace, searching, calling to her child in a voice that sounds like the wind through leaves. Then came Joseph Thompson Hare, the educated killer, polite, articulate, from a fine Philadelphia family. He kept a journal of his crimes, careful script, orderly thoughts until the words began to change. He wrote about things he saw on the trace that no man could explain. A white horse at the crossroads that vanished when approached. Campfires that gave off no light beyond their own flames. Men wearing the faces of the people he'd killed years before. Before they hanged him in 1818, Hare told his jailer the truth, or what he thought was the truth. The trace, he said, isn't just a road, it's alive. It feeds on the blood spilled along it. We're not the predators, we're the bait. The jailer wrote down every word. On the night after the hanging, he claimed he saw a white horse outside his window. When he looked again, it was gone.